Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. This is Comfortably Zone Radio, and it's time for Dodgers baseball, a tale of two cities from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. I'm your host, Peter Trunk, and my co-host is Ron Rabinovitz. I am in New Jersey. Ron is presently in Arizona. Ron, how are you?
I'm fine, Peter. Thanks for inviting me, and it's good to be with you on the show.
Oh, that's great. I want to play a little song for you, Ron. I think you're going to get a kick out of it.
Okay.
Let's see if I can cue this up. And
all right,
here it is.
Yes, Jackie hit that ball. And when he swung his set, the crowd went wild because he knocked that ball a solid smile. Yeah, boy. Yes, Jackie hit that ball. Satchel Paige is mellow, so is Campanella. You come and dope it too. But it's a natural fact, when Jackie comes to bat, the other team is through. Did you see Jackie Robinson hit that ball? Yeah, and that ain't all he's all. Yes, Jackie's real gone. Get that ball, yeah, and that ain't all he knows. Yes, Jack is real gone. Jack is real.
I hope you enjoyed that. I did.
Oh, did I ever? I loved it. It's one of my favorite songs.
Well, you know, I'm talking to a guy, Ron Rabinovitz, right here on my show, on our show, that didn't just, wasn't like the rest of us, wasn't just a mere fan of Jackie, but actually became a friend of Jackie. As hard as that might be for some people to believe, it's an actual fact. And I'm going to let Ron explain to me, and in doing so, explain to all of you out there in Radioland, how this came about. How did it come about that a kid met and continued to be friendly with and in contact with the great Jackie Robinson? Ron?
Yes, well, Pete, thank you. I grew up in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, which is about 50 miles north of Milwaukee. It's between Milwaukee and Green Bay. My father was an attorney and was very active in civil rights and in politics. And he loved the Dodgers because they gave Jackie an opportunity to play Major League Baseball. So as a kid, he used to tell me stories about Jackie, and he said to me one day, he says, "How would you like to meet him someday?" And I said, "Boy, would I love that." Well, unbeknownst to me, he wrote Jackie a letter and told him how much I admired him. And he didn't want to tell me about it in case Jackie didn't respond. He didn't want me disappointed. So I come home from school one day, and there is an envelope laying on my bed. I remember it as it was yesterday. It was face down, And the back of the letter said Jackie Robinson on the envelope. And I grabbed it and I ran to the kitchen to my mom. I said, Mom, I was 7 years old. Mom, I got a letter from Jackie. And then I called my dad at his office and told him. And then I went back to the room and opened this. And my mom was looking over my shoulder, big smile on her face. And there was an autographed picture from Jackie and a note that said, next time the club's in Milwaukee playing the Braves, he would love to meet me. At that time, the Atlanta Braves were the Milwaukee Braves. So we went to a Dodger Brave game in Milwaukee. And Pete, it was the first time I was ever at a baseball game that I couldn't wait for it to end because I knew what was going to happen. And we went down to the locker room and waited for him to come out. And there were a lot of kids around, and anytime a ball player would come out, they'd go running for an autograph. Well, I stood still. I never moved. I was just waiting for one guy. And when Jackie came out, I ran up to him with about 50 other kids, and I said, Jackie, I'm Ron Rabinovitz. Do you remember me? He says, sure I do. And my dad's standing over my shoulder. He says, sure, Jackie, with the thousands of letters you get, how would you remember? He says, no, I remember your dad wrote me on Lawyer Stationery. And from that time on, we became the best of friends. And he said to me, stay in touch. So I said, oh, my God, he wants to hear from me. So I used to write him a letter, Jackie Robinson, Stamford, Connecticut, no address, no zip code. And he'd write back, Ronnie Rabinovitz, Sheboygan, Wisconsin, no address, no zip code. And we would get the letters. It was just amazing. And Peter, he was such a wonderful, wonderful man. I don't know what he saw in me. I just know that I loved him as a hero. He was my hero. And, of course, as a kid, I realized I loved him mainly because he was my friend and because he was helping the Dodgers win pennants. But as I got older, I realized how much more than just baseball he was, what he did for this country, what he did for this world. I mean, it was amazing, And I go around and I speak all over the country. I have for over 30 years. And one of the messages I try to relate to people is, everybody or most everybody knows who Jackie Robinson was. But I like to explore and discuss what he did after baseball and how wonderful he was and what he did. And it's amazing. I get a lot of questions from people. For instance, I was explaining to a bunch of kids one day, and I speak to corporations and schools and companies and organizations, and I was telling them what a tremendous athlete he was. He went to UCLA. He was an All-American in football. He was an All-American in basketball. He broke the world's record in the broad jump and track, and he played baseball. He was the only athlete to letter in 4 sports at UCLA. And a lot of the kids said to me, well, why did he pick baseball? Well, it's a very simple answer that they didn't know, but I tried to explain to them. The reason he picked baseball is because there were no other avenues for African Americans to play in sports. In baseball, you had the Negro Leagues, and that's where he had an opportunity. So, and the kids can't imagine that there were no basketball players that were African American or no football players that were African American. They just can't imagine that, But that's how it all started, And it seems like every time I share my amazing story, I remember what someone said to me a long time ago. He said, yours is a story that only happens in dreams. And it's so true because it's just a tremendous dream. I never believed that this would happen. And he would continue to write to me longhand letters. I mean, it wasn't, dear Ronnie, best of luck, Jackie.
Right.
And I would write back to him, it was, and I always feel, Peter, that a legacy doesn't just happen. The legacy of Jackie Robinson becomes more clear the more we talk about it.
Sure.
If you imagine, at the time there were 400 major league players. After April 15th, 1947, there were 399 white players and 1 black player. Just imagine the guts he had, the courage, the dedication, and the horrific abuse this man took because he wanted to play baseball. Talk about bullying. Jackie saw bullying firsthand. You know, it was just amazing. I was honored to meet Rachel Robinson. I had never met her before. She came to Minneapolis in 1997. She was, you know, after he passed away, she started a foundation called the Jackie Robinson Foundation, which is a scholarship program for children of color and minorities to go to college. They have the greatest graduation rate, Peter, of any scholarship program in the United States, 98%. And Jackie would be so proud because that's way double the national average, you know. So
Sure.
and Rachel came to Minneapolis. I was invited by the twins to go to the press conference at the Metrodome. And I'm sitting in there with a bunch of reporters. And I'm kind of grinning from ear to ear, and she's kind of looking at me like, what's that reporter grinning about, you know? And afterwards I went up to her and I said, Rachel, I'm Ronnie Rabinovitz. And she says, oh my God. She hugged and kissed me. And she said, Jack loved you so much. And I brought her all the letters, showed her, and the pictures, and she was so delighted. That night she threw out the first ball at the Metrodome, and they unveiled a beautiful picture of Jackie on the outfield wall. And then later on I sat in one of the suites with her for about 4 innings, and she wanted to hear about my family and I about hers. And she once said, I have it quoted here, she was talking to a reporter. It is a real testimony to Jack because Ronnie is so specific about what he felt, what he learned, and what his intentions were of carrying on Jack's name. That is obviously something that I would be happy to hear because in a way Jackie lives through people like Ronnie. The other thing that goes through all the letters is he calls our children by name and Jack calls his family by name. There's an intimacy that is unusual. There are so many things about it. There's the generational thing, this racial thing, the religious thing, even a child relating to a man that way. The fact that two strangers could come together that way was really extraordinary. Jackie corresponded with other youngsters, but this is the most extensive batch of correspondence that I have ever seen. Can you imagine? It's just amazing. It's just, she's such a remarkable lady.
Gee whiz. You know, you mentioned that you were 7 years old when this first began. How old was Jackie? What year was that?
This was 1953, and it was the first year the Braves were in Milwaukee. They had just moved there from Boston.
Yeah.
And and Jackie was, you know, as a rookie, he was 28 years old. Most rookies are 18, 19, or 20. So, so he only played 10 years because of that. But what a hell of a 10 years it was. You know, it was unbelievable. He retired at 37, 38, you know. But it was remarkable. Just remarkable.
That's quite a story. You know, I always say to myself whenever I hear you speak about Jackie and meeting him and all that stuff, that when you met him, did you ask him questions about the team and things like that, like baseball questions, or was it just social type of thing?
No, we would talk about baseball, and my dad, of course, was very active in politics. He was the Democratic National Committeeman for the state of Wisconsin, and Jackie at the time was a Republican, which was very unusual. And they used to argue every once in a while, and in some of the letters he would write to me. He would write a sweet letter to me, and then he'd say, tell your dad this or that. And then he'd say, I don't know why I brought that up. I guess it's just my way of saying hi to your dad. But it was strictly, you know, they loved each other. And my dad actually was very dear friends with Jack Kennedy. And he was instrumental in talking Jack Kennedy into running in the Wisconsin primary in 1960 because he felt that if he could beat Humphrey in his backyard, it would help catapult him to the nomination, which in fact it did.
Yes.
So he took me out of high school off and on for 6 weeks during the primary, and I traveled around, got to know the whole Kennedy family very intimately.
Wow.
I mean, they were wonderful people. So my two heroes, other than my father, were Jack and Jackie, both of them.
That's amazing.
And my dad actually,
Amazing.
my dad was, yeah, it was. My dad was in Washington, D.C. for a national committee meeting. Jackie happened to be at the same hotel, and my dad brought Jackie up to Jack Kennedy's suite to try and talk him into supporting him.
Right.
And Jackie just couldn't do it. He just felt, what does a rich kid from New England have any idea about the plight of the African Americans? And he supported Nixon, of course. He later told me he made a mistake, and he did support Bobby Kennedy in 1968. But it was amazing, you know. It's just such an incredible experience, and you know, I just love to be with him. I didn't ask for anything. I never asked for a ball, or I never pestered him. Never give me. You know, I got all these things, but I never. On my 10th birthday, it was 1955, the year they finally beat those damn Yankees. And you know, I used to watch. We'd go in the locker room or go to the door of the locker room, wait for him. And there was this big warning on the front door. It said, "Warning: Do not enter. Trespassing. You could go to jail." And then all this legal jargon. And you know, as kids, we were impatient. You know, it took time, 45 minutes to an hour before the ball players started coming out. So we had nothing else to do but read that sign over and over and over. So one day he comes out and he waves to me and he says, "Come here." And he takes me by the hand and takes me into the locker room. And I thought, oh my God, I said to him, I said, "Oh my God, I'm going to jail."
Yeah, right.
He says, no.
Exactly.
He says, no, you're with me. You don't have to worry. He took a brand new ball out of a bag and he took me from locker to locker to locker. All my heroes, Duke Snyder, Pee Wee Reese, Roy Campanella, Don Newcomb, Carl Furillo, all of them were shaking my hand, patting me on the back. Sandy Koufax was a rookie that year. I was like numb. I was just numb. And he was so busy getting autographs for me that he actually forgot to sign the ball himself. But I got many other autographs from him. Well, I mean, that's the type of guy he was. One time he was coming out of the locker room in Milwaukee. The series wasn't over yet, and the players were getting on the bus to go back to the hotel. So I'm walking with him, and he's signing kids' autographs, and we're talking. And all of a sudden, the guys are getting on the bus, and here comes a priest with a whole parish full of kids. They all want autographs. So he's standing there and signing and signing and signing. Pretty soon, the guys on the bus are opening the windows. "Come on, Jackie, you're holding us up." You know what he did?
Yeah.
He went to the bus driver. He said, "You know what? Take the guys back to the hotel. I'll take a cab." And he stood there and he signed every kid's autograph. That's the type of guy he was. Of course, we gave him a ride. He didn't have to take a cab, but yeah, he was such a good guy. Such a good guy.
That's a great story. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
I know that you know many, many, many things about Jackie, and I learn things about Jackie almost weekly. I'm 70 years old, and I continue to be interested in the history of the Brooklyn Dodgers and the ball players that played for them, and I just can't help but learn things. Like today, for instance, I learned 3 things that I thought were very interesting, and I said, I got to tell Ron these when I talk to him later on. And one of them was that Jackie, like you said, played for 10 seasons, which is not a long career because he was called up at age 28. If he had come up at age 19 or 20, he would have had a very long career. But be that as it may, he came up when he came up, and his lifetime, I love to look at lifetime bases on balls and lifetime strikeouts.
Right,
I love it ever since years and years ago, someone told me to look. I think we were having a discussion. This was very long time ago, maybe in the 1970s or something, and there was an outfielder for the Milwaukee Brewers named Rob Deere, Deer,
Okay.
and
I
Rob
remember
Deere
that name.
struck out. Rob Deere struck out like 175 or 185 or 195 times or something like that, and we were
my God.
incredulous as baseball fans because the guys who used to lead the league when we were in the Little League, watching the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants and the New York Yankees and stuff like that, the guys who would lead the league at the end of the year would be in the 90s or maybe 101 would lead the league in strikeouts. This guy was striking out like 175 times. So, someone said to me, some guy heard us talking about it, and like I said, we were all so incredulous that this guy struck out so much. Little did we know that years and years later, guys would strike out 225 times a year, which they do now.
Sure.
But anyway, he said, look up Johnny Mize, Big Johnny Mize, the year he hit 50-something home runs for the New York Giants, and look in the baseball encyclopedia. No one had a computer then. There were no computers. So look up in the baseball encyclopedia how many times Johnny Mize struck out the year he hit 50, I don't forget what he hit, 50, let's just say 56 home runs. 51 or 56 home, whatever. Yeah. And we looked it up. We thought it was a misprint. It was under 50. He hit more home runs than he struck out. We could not believe it. So it was like a little thing of mine, a little, if you want to call it an interest or a picadillo. I used to, from that day on, I used to, when I felt the urge, I would look up guys' lifetime walks or lifetime strikeouts and stuff like that, whatever. And I looked up Jackie's the other day. Okay. Jackie played for 10 years. His rookie year, he won Rookie of the Year, by the way, 1946.
Yes, he did. And they named the award after him. Yeah.
Yes, they did. And if I'm not mistaken, they only gave it to one player, not a National League and an American League, but one Major League player.
One Major League player, right.
Right. They did the same with the Cy Young in the very beginning. Anyway,
yes, they did.
I looked up Jackie's walks in his rookie year, and he walked 74 times in his rookie year. Huh. Excuse me. And lifetime, he walked 740 times. Wow. Tell me that's not consistent. Okay?
That's unbelievable.
He starts off with 74 walks and finishes his career 10 years later with 740 walks. And he struck out 291 times.
In 10 years.
In 10 years. He averaged 29 strikeouts a year. This is a guy who hit 311.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe.
It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. It's incredible.
Right.
It
is.
The other thing the other thing I read about Jackie was that at age 35, and that's no spring chicken for a baseball player. At age 35 in 1954, Jackie became the first National Leaguer to steal his way around the bases in 26 years. He got on first with a walk. He stole second, stole third, and stole home. This is at age 35.
At 35.
The other thing, the third thing I found out didn't have too much to do with Jackie Robinson. In fact, it was a game that Jackie Robinson did not play because he had an Achilles heel injury, and that was the 7th game of the 1955 World Series. Johnny Podgers shut the Yankees out 2-0. We all know about that game. But what I didn't know, and perhaps you did, but I did not know, is that someone counted Johnny Podgers' pitches that day. Do you want to venture a guess on how? I'll give you a little bit of a hint. It might help you out. The third game of the World Series in 1955, the third game where Padres beat the Yankees 8-3, he threw 104 pitches. 104. Now, 104. In the seventh game, how many pitches did he throw? Take a guess.
Probably about 90, 95.
Oh, I wish it was like that. That's a Koufax type of game. He threw 144 pitches. 144 of gross.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Now,
unbelievable.
My next question my next question, of course, is will make you laugh out loud because it deserves no answer because we all know what the answer is. Can you imagine today's game in 2016, 2017? A guy in the seventh game of a World Series is winning 2-0.
Yeah.
And they're going to leave him in to throw 144 pitches
Did you imagine?
on the road.
It's unbelievable.
It wouldn't happen in a million years.
Not in a million.
Wouldn't happen in a million years.
I mean, these guys didn't know what pitch counts were. I mean, they pitched until they got knocked out. You talk to Bob Gibson or Don Newcomb and talk about pitch counts, they laugh in your face. I mean, it was unheard of. Look at how many complete games are today. You never see a complete game. Once in a Purim, It's so rare. But they used to all have complete games. Warren Spahn, he once pitched against, I believe it was against the Giants in Milwaukee. I was at the game. It was an 18-inning game.
He pitched the whole game.
He pitched the whole game. And Willie Mays, I think he was pitching against Juan Marichal. And Juan Marichal came in the top of the 17th or 18th inning, and Willie Mays said, "I'm going to get this over with." And he hit a home run, and they won 1-0. But 18 innings. I mean, can you imagine how many pitches he threw? Both of them.
Scary.
Unbelievable.
Scary.
How many times do you think Jackie has stole home in his career?
I know that answer, so that's unfair for me to pretend that I'm smart. I already know that.
19 times.
But I'm going to ask you, how many times was he caught stealing home?
That I don't know.
12.
12? Unbelievable.
12. He was caught 12 times stealing home.
12 times. Unbelievable. Yep. And he even stole home in the World Series. Yogi still said he was out, but he wasn't. He wasn't out.
First game, he was safe. I have the pictures to prove it, taken from behind Jackie, not behind, not the other. 99% of the photographs have a picture, and even the video have Jackie coming down the line from like the Yankee on deck circle. And it looks like he slides right into Berra's tag, which he doesn't. And by the way, Berra committed a catcher's balk on that pitch.
Yeah, right.
Berra had his mask off and he was up on with his feet on the plate before the pitch arrived at home plate. Okay, so it was a catcher's balk, and if it wasn't a catcher's balk, all Frank Keller had to do was tap Yogi with his bat, and he would have gone to first base. Of course, Jackie would have had to go back to third, but it was total catcher's balk on that. And I have pictures from the opposite side, from the third base coaching box, and he's under the tag. Jackie's
under the tag. You're right.
Under the tag, absolutely under the tag, no doubt about it. Definitely safe,
Peter.
Definitely safe.
I actually saw on MLB Network one time. They did a photo of like each slide to see if he was safe or out. And they determined that he was absolutely safe.
Right.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. He was.
Let me ask you one more question. You had said he had 29 strikeouts that first year. And how many in his career?
I said he had 291 strikeouts in his career. I don't know how many times he struck out the first time. The first year, he had 740 walks, but he had 74 walks in his rookie year. I don't know how many times he struck out. But,
unbelievable. Isn't that amazing?
That's quite, it was
crazy.
Amazing.
It's
And,
so crazy.
How many times have you read in your lifetime? I'm sure it's just as many as I have. How many times have you read that baseball was his worst sport, his weakest sport of all?
It was. That's right.
Basketball
and football were
all ahead of it. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Baseball was his weakest sport. That's amazing. And look how great
I'll tell you something you might not know, but you probably will because you have a lot of you have a lot of history. Jackie had a brother who was an athlete also. And
Yes.
in 1936 in Germany, when Jesse Owens won the gold,
He finished
Mac
second.
Robinson
Mac Robinson
came in second.
Right.
Mac Robinson, that's his brother. And he won the silver. So the two guys for the USA kind of stuck it until he hit theirs here. It was amazing. It was just amazing. But a lot of people don't know that,
In
And
1940, in 1940, if we had gone, if we had Olympics, which we did not because of the war, Jackie Robinson would have been in the Olympics. Absolutely.
Absolutely. He was a
Absolutely. Would have been
athlete.
track and field. Yeah.
That's right.
No doubt about it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No doubt about it.
It's amazing. Our friendship was so. I was in LA about a year ago. I was interviewed by Larry King, and he was telling me a story that the first time he interviewed Martin Luther King, he introduced him as the founder of the civil rights movement. And Martin Luther King stopped him and said, "Larry, I have to correct you. I was not the founder. It was Jackie Robinson." Imagine? Yeah.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
That's pretty heavy. I mean, if I were Rachel, if I heard him say that, or if I was Jackie and I heard him say that, I would have broke down crying. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. What a sentiment! What a sentiment that is. That's just incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, King called him a pilgrim that walked in the lonesome byways toward the high road of freedom. He was a sit-inner before sit-ins and a freedom rider before freedom rides. Amazing.
There you go.
Jackie was alone. That's the amazing thing about this whole thing. There were no other African, he was alone. This was way before Martin Luther King, way before Rosa Parks, way before, everything in the civil rights movement.
Sure
he was alone. And he was alone. I mean, just imagine, Peter, a rookie coming into the major leagues. The tremendous pressure it is to try and break in with all the great players that are on the team. Now, besides that, you have all the distraction of having balls thrown at your head. You're getting beamed.
Yeah.
And remember, they didn't wear helmets. They wore baseball caps. And the pitchers threw just as hard then as they do now. They would spike them. They'd throw the black cats on the field. They would call them names, death threats. Terrible. I mean, it was unbelievable. And yet, with all these distractions, he persevered. It's amazing. But I
don't know to this day how he did it. I don't know how to this day. I can't imagine how he did that. I really don't. I don't think that could be done again. If that had to, God forbid. But if someone had to go through that again, I don't think they could. I really don't think
I agree with
could.
You. I agree with you. That was
a once in a lifetime thing.
Once in a lifetime thing. And it was so amazing because when you think about what he went through, you've seen 42, the movie 42, and
sure I have.
They talk about you see that Ben Chapman, but that was just in Philadelphia. There was abuse in Chicago and in St. Louis and in Pittsburgh, everywhere in the Midwest. It wasn't just Philadelphia.
Right.
Cincinnati,
sure,
of course.
Too. Yeah, that was a big one.
That was a big one.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. In 1959, in May of 59, the Dodgers, Walter O'Malley, out in the Coliseum, had an exhibition game for Roy Campanella. 93,103 people went to, which is absolutely amazing. And in the fifth inning, they all lit up their lighters and held them up.
Yeah.
And Campanella made $70,000 off of that, and he had to pay $17,000 in tax, so he made $53,000. Did you know that he and his family were not allowed during that week? Because O'Malley had them out there for the week. He didn't just fly them out there for the game and then fly them back to New York. He had them out there for the week. He put them in the hotel in Los Angeles, Wilshire Hilton or something like that. They were not
Okay.
allowed to use the swimming pool.
Can you imagine?
The
Unbelievable.
Campanella family was not allowed to use
It's
the
not allowed.
pool. This is Los Angeles, California,
Yeah. Can you imagine?
1959.
Disgusting. Disgusting. That's disgusting.
It is disgusting. It is.
Horrendous. Just
Absolutely
horrendous.
disgusting.
You know, I know when in St. Louis one time, Jackie and Don Newcomb and Roy Campanella and Joe Black, who was a tremendous pitcher, went to the Chase, I think it was a Chase Manhattan Hotel in St. Louis. And they said, why can't we stay with our team? And the manager said, okay, I'll let you stay if you promise not to use our swimming pool. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. It's so sad.
Yeah.
Just so sad. I don't know if you ever
sad.
saw this documentary that Ken Burns did about Jackie.
Sure I did.
Oh, wasn't it fabulous? It was just fabulous. It was just.
I watch it over and over and over. Whenever it's repeated on
too.
MLB TV, I watch it again and again and again.
Tremendous, tremendous. Yeah.
It is. It's really good.
How about if I read a couple of excerpts from some letters that Jackie wrote to
I
me?
would
Would
love
that
it.
be okay?
I would love that.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind, I would love that, Ron. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Here's one. Dear Ronnie, it was nice getting a letter from you. We just returned from a nice trip to Japan. And the people there were just wonderful and changed our minds about a lot of things. It is the most friendly country I've ever seen, and I was amazed at the way we were received in every city. It's really nice getting letters from you because you always seem to have a nice word when it's needed most. I guess everyone in the public's eye wants to have friends like you, and believe me, I am no exception. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your standing by me, and I only hope I can always be worthy of your friendship. I guess there wasn't much joy in your house as a result of the election, but I am sure Stevenson would have fared better if the war had not interrupted. I don't know what is going to happen, but I'm sure we'll be okay with Ike. Give my regards to the family. My children are well and getting ready to moving right along and getting ready to go to school. I don't know if I'll be around next year, but I hope to. My legs are the big problem, and they seem to be okay as we keep our fingers crossed. Well, Ronnie, take care of yourself. I hope to see you real soon. Always, Jackie. Amazing.
Now, that was the winter of 56, 57, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Now Jackie's final at-bat in Japan, he hit a home run.
Yes.
His final at-bat in Japan.
That was the last at-bat he
home
did.
run. Yep.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. They loved him over there. So he, of course, he used to play second or third base. This particular game, he was playing left field. And a ball missed him and rolled all the way to the fence. And he missed it. And we had dinner that night. And I said, Jackie, I said, that was a tough play. He says, tough heck. He says, Ambrose would have had it. Remember Sandy Ambrose was a rookie, fast, young left fielder. Mm-hmm. And he said, Ronnie, he said, I want to tell you a secret that no one else knows except my own family. He said, I think next year will be my last year in baseball. And when he did retire, my God, I cried. I thought, my God, I'll never see him again.
Sure.
But what he wanted to come back to Wisconsin again, because I used to see him. They would come for a 3 or 4 game series 3 or 4 times a year, and we'd go to the games all the time, And I thought, and I cried. I thought I'd never see him again. And he told me that his own son, Jackie Jr., was crying, and he assured both of us that everything would be okay. And in fact, it was, because he came back to Wisconsin many times. He was very active with the National Conference of Christians and Jews. He was very active on sports banquets and other functions. And he let us know, and we would spend the evening or the weekend or the afternoon with him, whatever it was. And so I did see him many times. And I moved to Minneapolis in 1966. And I was in the garment business. I used to sell children's apparel. I was a manufacturer's rep. So I used to get to New York a lot. The first thing I would do when I get to New York would be pick up the phone and call Jackie. And many times we'd get together and have lunch. Sometimes if he was too busy, we'd just talk on the phone. And I was with him about 6 months before he passed away.
Wow.
I'll never forget it. He was in really rough shape. He had suffered from diabetes for many years. He had had a heart attack. He was blind in one eye. He was going blind in the other eye. And he was in really rough shape. And I had to take him by the arm and help him into this restaurant. And I felt so sad because I remembered him dancing up and down those bases, driving those pitchers crazy. And now I was helping him. And he was so happy to see me. He wanted to hear all about my family, and I, of course, about his. And then afterwards, I hailed him a cab. I got him settled in the cab, and I kissed him on the cheek, and I told him how much I loved him. And as that cab disappeared into sight, I had tears running down my cheeks. Because I know I would never see him again. And it wasn't
That's a great story.
6 months later. Yeah. He was such a great guy.
It's a wonderful, wonderful story. Boy, you have fantastic memories. Fantastic memories.
I got another letter here if you want me to hear part of it.
Sure, I want to hear it.
Okay. Excuse me. Dear Ronnie, it was good hearing from you. I hope everything is fine at home. My family is fine. We have had a nice summer, and with school just around the corner, we're getting prepared. It looks, and now he's not with the Dodgers anymore. So he's talking about the Dodgers, and it didn't look like they had a good chance to win that year. And he said, "You're very kind to say the nice things you did. I learned a long time ago that a person must be true to himself if he is to succeed. He must be willing to stand by his principles, even at the possible loss of prestige. He must first learn to live with himself before he can hope to live with others. I have been fortunate. God has been good to me, and I intend to work as hard as I can to repay all the things people have done for me. I appreciate your friendship and feel as long as you set a worthwhile goal and head for it, you will do well. Continued good luck. Give my regards to the family. Always, Jackie."
Priceless.
Priceless.
That's wonderful.
Exactly. Isn't that beautiful?
Right?
What a great guy. What a great guy.
Yep.
I'm telling you.
You're very fortunate.
He was a real...
Very fortunate.
I feel that way too. You know, Peter, he was a real hero. A real hero that our kids could look up to. He never drank. He never smoked. He never took drugs. And he never refused to sign a kid's autograph. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what he used to do in Abbotsfield? Kids would take a postcard, and a self-addressed postcard, and as he'd come out of the dressing room, they'd give him these postcards, and he'd take them home and write to kids a little note on the postcard and mail it to them.
Yeah.
Who does that? I mean, it's just amazing. You know, they say Babe Ruth.
With all the other stuff going on in his life, he still had time to do that.
That's right. They say Babe Ruth changed baseball. Jackie Robinson changed America.
Yeah.
He really did.
Changed the world. He
did change the world. He sure was.
It was something.
I got one more letter if you want me to hear. I'll read some extra.
One more is good. One more is good.
Okay,
Ron, go ahead.
1 second. Okay, let me find it here. I think I got it here. Oh, here it is. Okay. I invited him to my bar mitzvah. So he says, "Dear Ronnie, I'm happy to know everything went well at your bar mitzvah. My schedule has been so busy, I've not been able to keep up with outside responsibilities. Tell your dad Ike has made me a Democrat, and it looks like it'll take some doing to make me change my mind. It doesn't seem as if I will be getting to Sheboygan soon. My work here has been very busy, and I haven't been able to get away as much as I would like to for personal reasons. Ronnie, one of the things that pleases me most is our friendship continues even though I am no longer connected with baseball. It is friends like you that make me feel that everything that happened was worthwhile. I hope we do get a chance to see each other soon. It seems when people are as far apart as we are, they have a tendency to forget. I hope we don't. My regards to the family. I hope everything continues to go well. Always, Jackie. And a beautiful.
Gee whiz.
Just,
Gee whiz.
oh,
Gee
there's
whiz.
so many
That
other
is
letters
something.
just like that. So many
That
other
is,
letters just
oh,
like that.
man. Oh, man.
On my 10th birthday, he was in Milwaukee. And he hit a home. We used to always get seats on the third base side where the Dodger dugout was. So he hit a home run. As he's rounding third, he waved to me like that one was for you. That night, he came to my birthday party. And can you imagine Jackie Robinson singing happy birthday to me? My 10th birthday in Milwaukee.
Crazy.
I was just numb. It was just so funny. It was so great. I was so excited. And he sat in the back of the menu. Ronnie, it was very nice having dinner with you and your family. I hope we are able to get together soon again, Jackie Robinson. And the funniest thing, this was a very expensive restaurant in Milwaukee, okay? Probably one of their most expensive restaurants. You'll love this. 7C seafood platter, $3.50. South African lobster tails, $4.
Wow.
Prime rib, $4. Lamb chops, $4. And this included potato, coffee, milk, or tea, and dessert. Shrimp cocktail was 50 cents.
Wow.
Oh, the days, Unbelievable.
Those days are over, pal. Yeah.
They're over.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Ron. Our first show together as partners went very well, I think. And I think it's time for us to say goodnight. And I want to thank you for all of the Jackie Robinson stories. And I told you this off the air. I will tell you this on the air. When you get together with me and talk about the Dodgers, it's almost damn impossible not to mention number 42. So,
absolutely.
In the future, we do not have to make a concerted effort to leave Jackie out of any of our conversations because that would not be normal. Because he is
right.
The Dodgers.
It would not be normal.
Was the Dodgers.
He was the Dodgers.
We can talk about him ad infinitum. So I want to thank you for reading those letters. I want to thank you for all of the great memories, and I just want to thank you. Period. That's it. And next time,
Peter, thank you.
We will talk a little bit about the current Dodgers, and we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on them, but we'll talk about them, especially if they get Brian Dozier this week from
I hope
Minnesota.
So. What do you think?
And we'll see what develops. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I hope so.
So
maybe they'll get.
I'd like to bid you a fond good night.
Yeah.
I'd like to thanks
Peter,
again, and bid you a fond good night. And we'll talk on the computer regarding a week from tonight.
Sounds great. Thanks so much. Buddy.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night.
I enjoyed it. Bye-bye.